kind of dovetailing into that, what you just said about your marketing for cloud source accounting. What I thought we could talk about first is, before we kind of assumed here um, that marketing your Xero firm, online marketing, the fact that you're a Xero firm is the right thing to do. Um, I mean, maybe you alluded to it a little bit. Was one of your advantages was you were one of the only people in the States who was Xero, which I guess is has pros and cons to it. But yeah, I thought we could just start by talking through some of the advantages of why you would promote yourself as a Xero practice.
Sure. And Matt, I can't see any of the slides right now.
Okay,
Were you going to share those,
sorry
or
about
shall
that.
I share those?
It's done. It's there. Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Awesome. So the question, what are the advantages of promoting yourself as a zero practice? Well, yeah, for us, 4 or 5 years ago, the advantage was that there weren't many people supporting zero in the bookkeeping world or the accounting world, and there were plenty of people looking for help. So just like with QuickBooks and Intuit, that was a channel for us to acquire customers. People would go to the Xero website and they would look for an expert who could help them because they were already on Xero and needed help. Um, Even though Xero was small in the US at the time, I think there were only 10,000 users or so. That's still plenty of users for just a handful of accountants and bookkeepers. And although now there are many, many more, listed, I still think that it's beneficial, and it really isn't that hard at this point, I think, to get listed there and to get up in the top of your geographic region. So definitely something worth doing, and it certainly won't hurt. So I think everyone should pick a side, if you will, or get listed with both Xero and QuickBooks or whatever the dominant software vendors are in your area of the world, because a lot of people are looking for help with a particular technology solution. And that doesn't go just for Xero. I mean, it goes for or QuickBooks or any of the general ledger applications. It goes for all of the major software applications in your industry. So if you specialize in inventory businesses, you should check out Unleashed or Dear Inventory and become promote your firm as a expert with those solutions as well.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, because I think the situation's a little bit different in different countries because, in New Zealand, where I'm based and where Xero is from, it's pretty ubiquitous. Most firms are Xero, and um, it doesn't necessarily make you stand out. That's not to say there are other things why you wouldn't promote yourself as a Xero practice, but most firms are. And it's getting that way in Australia as well, where we're very close to. But certainly in the States, I think, where QuickBooks is still dominant, it is quite different. And do you think that helps you stand out that you're a Xero practice, even if people haven't heard about Xero, businesses haven't heard about Xero?
Definitely, and there's benefits, both tangible and intangible, to working with one of the software vendors to do marketing. I would say that a big component of our success was that Xero helped us with our marketing. They did a really nice video for us. That video probably would have cost us $10,000 to do on our own. Intuit promotes its pro advisors. They have a listing of top pro advisors every year, and in terms of marketing, if you want to leverage your marketing time and dollars, working with a software vendor can really help.
Yeah, right. Okay. Um, so I thought we'd dive into the workshop now, really, and we're going to keep this quite practical rather than just go through slides. So we're going to be showing you some actual apps, websites, things that Blake and myself do. And so it's not going to be as polished as some webinars, but I think the benefit of that is you'll actually get some real actionable insights into how these things work. So the kind of first main topic I wanted to speak about is really what are the website and online marketing basics. So In other words, what gets you to the starting line? What's essential in terms of a website and an online presence. And the first thing that I thought we could talk about was mobile and mobile friendly, Blake, because to me now that is an essential.
Yeah, definitely. I can't remember the exact stat, but it's more than half of people are accessing your website on their mobile devices these days. So if your website isn't mobile friendly, it immediately puts you at a disadvantage. The good news is that it's not hard to make a mobile-friendly website these days. All of the templates and website providers are building mobile-friendly. So the easiest way to know if your website is mobile-friendly or not is to open up your website on your iPhone or your Android and take a look. And if it's impossible to read the text, then you do not have a mobile-friendly website. So
Actually, I
definitely, I would.
just to interrupt there,
Yep,
Blake.
go
There's
ahead.
actually something called Google's mobile friendly test. So if people listening want to, if you Google mobile friendly test, they've actually got a site where you can put your URL in, and it runs a test, and it will tell you because a couple of stats I'll give you, which is last April, April 2015 rather. Google brought in a change to their search so that if your site isn't mobile friendly, it won't be listed in Google's mobile listings. So that's really important. So if you haven't got a mobile site, you don't exist on Google Mobile. And pretty much the exact stat of how many people are accessing accountants' websites by mobile, it's about 21%. We ran those stats across all the jurisdictions that we're in, and the average was about 21. There were a few outliers, so some were like up to 50%, and there's a couple that were down sort of near like 10, 15%. The vast majority around that 20% mark. So, A, you don't exist on Google Mobile if your site isn't mobile friendly, and B, you're throwing away about a fifth of your traffic if you're not as well.
Yeah, and that number is just going to keep growing as younger people start becoming decision makers. Um, you know, Millennials are on their phones all the time. We're very comfortable with it. I am 32, so I'm on the leading edge of that. And yeah, I can tell you that I have many of my friends don't even access the internet, period, on a laptop or a desktop computer. They do everything on a tablet or on their mobile device, and they just use a laptop for work.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, So I think that to me, just to get that one out of the way, is that's an absolute essential now. So whatever your website does or has got
And
on it, it's got to be mobile.
and actually, this is a great part. Let's can you flip over the presentation to me? And
Yeah,
because I actually just want to show people what mobile friendly actually looks like, what that means.
yeah. Hold
Um, because there are effects of it beyond just. Let's see, show my screen. All right. I think you should be able to see my screen right now.
then we can skip
Uh,
that.
oh, you see my son there? Yes, that's my son. All right. Now, do you see my blog here?
Yeah,
Okay, great. So this is my shameless self-promotion moment. This is my website, and you can see that it's responsive. So that means if I resize the website, it resizes proportionately down to a certain point, right? So all the images, everything's readable. Okay, so it doesn't matter how big my screen is or how big the window is when I open it. And then if I go down a little bit, down to tablet size, you can see how easy it is to read and how the layout changes. So now it's just a single column. And I can keep on going and keep on going. And so this is important not just for mobile, it's important because it improves the experience of browsing a website on desktop as well. Because we don't always have our windows displayed at full screen, right? And this way, if I happen to have a smaller window open and I open up your website, it still looks good. So that's what responsive is. And we could go to Bizink. Is it Bizink Online?
.com. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So same thing with your website, right?
Yep.
We can resize it, and everything just resizes perfectly. And this is true of all the templates that you guys use, right?
Oh yeah, I mean we've done that since 2012 because I don't think it's a add-on. It's an essential, and I
Right.
think it was 4 years ago, and certainly now with those Google stats, then it's just the price of entry. It's got to be there. So yeah,
And yeah, and to use a real example of an accountant, here's Accounting Pros. This is one of my favorite websites just because I like the style. Yours, of course, doesn't have to look like this, but you can see that everything just resizes perfectly. So it all fits on a mobile.
so mobile is essential. In terms of content, and we can discuss this in a bit more detail. So I thought we'll just go over this stuff pretty briefly. Kind of what pages do you think are essential
Oops.
on accounting websites?
Let's see if I can actually show the correct screen. Let's see here. Play from current slide, and then tell me when you see the slides properly.
Yeah, that's all good.
Okay, great. So what's the question?
So really, mobile friendly, that's essential. How about what pages are needed particularly on a Xero phone? What pages
Oh, what
are
page?
essential?
Yeah, that's great. So in terms of pages, the About page, in my opinion, the About page is the most important. And accountants might be shocked to hear that. The reason is that people don't buy accounting services from your firm. They don't sign up with your firm typically. They sign up with the partner. They connect with the person providing the service. And again, I don't have the stats. Maybe you have the stats, Matt, to back this up. But the About page, if you have one on your website, is going to be the most visited page typically.
Yeah,
So it's really important to go ahead.
well, I actually do have some stats because we did a webinar and we did some research on this. So the number one page is the home page. But beyond that, for 90% of our clients, so that's firms spread, across the whole English speaking world, um, the team page was the second most visited page for 90% of our clients. Um, so,
Wow.
not just the about page, but actually the team page where, there's photos.
Oh yeah,
So
and
that
I
really,
apologize. Yeah, the About page. When I think of the About page, a lot of people just have one page, and that About page could include the team, or you can break it out, as is the case here. Um, so basically, the page that talks about the firm, about the people, whether or not you break that up into multiple pages, that's really, really important. It's the most important thing to spend time. So here's an example of HPC's About page. This is the team page, actually. And so we've got a nice profile of the owner, Bruce, and then we got this cool little map showing where everyone's located. And then we've got detailed bios of characters of the team. So this, the purpose of this is to humanize the firm, and to help clients identify with you as people who have hobbies, who are not just number crunchers. All right.
people buy from people, right? That goes across
Yeah.
pretty much any industry, but particularly with service-based industries, that's super important.
Very important, and it's something that accountants are often not comfortable with, right? Because we tend to be shy, relatively. My joke is that I'm an introvert, but among accountants, I'm an extrovert. So you really got to get comfortable with the idea of showing yourself as a person with outside interests, and being, don't be afraid to be yourself and to be authentic. If you like playing board games, then show people you like playing board games. It's okay if they think you're a nerd. They're already hiring you because you're their accountant. So embrace that part of yourself. I think Jeannie Whitehouse does the best job of that. She embraces her nerdiness, and her clients adore that.
But I think authenticity really matters, right? People can tell when you're
Yeah.
being phony. So, like you say, just embrace whatever you are and work with that.
Yep. Um, so I guess we should also talk about, I mean, we talked about the About Us page, and that really is the most important part. We've also got the idea of landing pages. That's on our list for today.
Hmm.
Um, so, you know, it's important, I think, that accountants know what landing pages are because they're really much more effective in terms of converting visitors to your website into potential leads than just having them land on your homepage. Um, because a homepage is a very broad page. Just you can't help but make it a broad page in that it's not specific to a particular customer. Landing page is the idea of a landing page is that it is a page that is designed to appeal to a particular customer that you're looking to serve and has a really easy way for them to contact you um, in case you know in case that your text there on that landing page appeals to them. So I want to show you guys an example of that. So just bear with me here while I get to it. This is the Xero Advisor page for the US, and this is the Find Accountant page. And I'm going to scroll down to HPC, which is my firm that I was working with. And if I click on Visit Website, instead of being directed to the home page, I'm directed to a landing page. And notice how the landing page is targeted toward Xero users. So people coming from the Xero Advisor website are looking for a Xero expert. So rather than sending them to the home page, which has a little bit about Xero but not that much, the landing page here is all about Xero. So we're much more likely to get somebody to put in their contact information and become a lead and ask us to schedule a consultation. So anytime you've got links out there on directories or referral links from any other website, you want to make sure that link points to a landing page that's dedicated to that.
And I think, like, 100% agree with you. And there's a temptation amongst, but it isn't just accountants. I've seen it with lots of businesses I work with, is to try and do too much. So, like on the homepage, try and like explain everything about the business. Whereas somebody who's interested in Xero, that's all they're interested. They don't need to know about anything else at that point. There's maybe another point when you started talking to them, they filled in these details that you can introduce that. But I guess there's another word for these pages, which is squeeze pages, and that's all you're trying to do: squeeze somebody down to take one action, and anything else you do on that can potentially confuse them, can kind of dilute the purpose of that page.
Yep, absolutely. So don't worry about your homepage too much. Make sure that it looks nice and it's got an intro video if you have an intro video and has links to all your other pages and whatnot. But focus most of your effort on making these landing pages. And there are tools out there that make it really easy to do them. Um, well, I don't want to get too much into the specific tools because I think most accountants should really just outsource the website creation process and not do it themselves because from a billable hour standpoint, it makes no sense for you to be doing that. But just to give you something in case you're curious, let's say you have a website and maybe you work for a firm where there's an IT department and getting these landing pages made is going to be really difficult. There's actually a product for you called Unbounce, which it's the motto is build, publish, and A/B test landing pages without IT. So you can basically create your own landing pages that are outside of your normal website to get started. So this is a great way to try it out without having to commit to changing platforms or commit to getting buy-in from the rest of your firm.
I think the other thing is that landing pages are a bit of a hot topic, but actually it doesn't have to be. There doesn't have to be any special technology behind it. Like we have a landing page builder within all of our websites, but
Hmm.
even before we had that, you could still create a landing page just by creating a very focused page. Let's say it's about Xero with a call to action on it. That's it. It's just a web page that's got this kind of special name.
Yep, you can do it all within your existing web builders usually. And you know, if you don't want it to show up on your main navigation, you can just, change your menu so it doesn't show that page.
Quick question before we move on. One thing that you haven't mentioned as an essential page is services. And, I've got a particular view on that, that most firms talk too much about services. And that's not really why people are evaluating them on that page or those things. It's like you said, they're evaluating them on, it's a relationships business. So the firm and the team. What's your view on what you should mention in terms of services on a website?
Yeah, I would keep it really brief. I would focus on outcomes, focus on case studies, focus on testimonials rather than on the particular software details of the software solution and how it works. Because if you get into the details on your website, then it can be tricky then when you actually do an assessment and you need to tell the client something and they already have a preconceived notion because they read it on your website and they thought that they fit into this bucket when they don't. So I'll give you an example. This is Live CA's website, Canadian Virtual Accounting, and this is their services page. And you can see here how they, I don't know how easy that is to read, make it a little larger. You can see here how they've listed each of their services and just included one or two sentences. This is really all you need. And then there's a call to action here, right below the services. You always want to make sure that you have call to action means just a button that the visitor can click so they can contact you. Essentially, that's what it is. So you can click that, and then it takes you to a contact form.
And obviously that's an essential.
That's a good example.
We can assume contact details, not just a contact page, but good calls to action, links all over the website. You've got to make it really easy for people to get in touch with you.
Yeah, if somebody goes to your homepage and it's like just open up your own homepage and look and see how easy it is it for me to find the schedule a consultation button or the talk to me button. If it's not the most visible aspect on your homepage, then I think you might want to redesign it.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly don't want to be you don't want to be creating any trouble. So to use HPC as an example again. You can see schedule a free consultation is right there, and contact us is right there in the upper right. I would always do this. I would always have contact us in the upper right, so it's on the end of the menu, so it's really easy to find. Maybe even put a bubble around it so that it's separated, and then have a schedule a consultation button or a contact button right there above the fold on your homepage. And then whenever you have more detailed sections of your website, you should also have the schedule consultation button below, right? So that you've hooked somebody, they're interested. You don't want them to have to go hunting around for that button or that link.
Absolutely. So I'm keen that we sort of jump on and look at a few more things in depth. But just before we do, we've talked about some of the website basics. Do you think there's anything else that firms need to get them to the starting line? So, something like social media, do you think that's an essential or a nice to have?
I think that whether or not you decide to be active on social media is not necessarily a given, because it's a problem if you sign up for social media accounts and then you don't keep them fresh, because that's actually worse than if you didn't have a social media presence at all. Because somebody's going to go to that Facebook page and they're going to see you haven't posted in a year and a half, and they're going to wonder, is this firm still in existence, right? What is going on? Whereas if you just didn't have the Facebook page, it might not even show up in searches, and they would be directed somewhere else. So you don't want to spread yourself too thin. So my recommendation on social media is to pick and choose very carefully based on your industry and the customers you're serving. So, for example, if you primarily serve individuals and owners of very small businesses, Facebook is going to be your best bet, because your goal is to get as many referrals as possible from those individuals. And where are they all the time? They're on Facebook with their friends. So if you're active there on your Facebook page, and it's fresh and it's showing up in their feeds, then they can like it and their friends are going to see it too, and that could be customers for you. If you tend to serve bigger businesses, I mean mid-market type companies, then LinkedIn might be your best bet, and that should be where you're active. And Facebook might just be a waste of time for you, because the decision makers in those firms are not on Facebook. They've got no time for that. There's also the question as to whether or not you have separate company social media accounts and personal accounts. And like Matt said, people buy from people. They don't buy from companies when it comes to accounting. So I really think that if you're a provider, a small firm, it's much more effective to utilize your personal social media accounts than to use company branded ones. So I mean by that, on Twitter in particular, operate under your own Twitter handle and use your own picture on the profile and network with people on Twitter. Same on LinkedIn. Company pages on LinkedIn are not very useful for marketing purposes. They're more useful for, say, recruitment purposes. So use your personal LinkedIn to reach out and network with people and get business. Facebook pages are probably the one area where I'd say I think everyone should have one and keep it active, because that's a really great way to show the human side of your business. But again, you're going to have to be willing to showcase your employees in their off hours, or include pictures of clients in the office or something like that, because that's what works on Facebook. Images of you guys as real people, and not just links to blog posts and whatnot. So that's basically my take on social media, having done it for 5 years now, pretty much every day. It's that, to summarize, you're better off utilizing personal accounts rather than business accounts to do your social media, and you're better off picking one platform for your company and really just doing your best job on that one platform, like Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter. And don't try to spread yourself out too thin across many, many platforms.
Okay, cool. Well, can we move on to the next slide? And I think kind of dovetails well into what we were talking about. And so let's assume we've got a website presence and some online marketing. How are we going to drive people to that? To me, the things that we often get asked to do and work with firms on is search engine marketing. So whether that's search engine optimization, or basically getting a high listing in Google's normal listings, paid search, and then I guess there's other things like social media would come into the mix. And I also think there's content marketing is probably a quite underutilized but really important factor in all of that. And then maybe something we've already touched on, the directories like Xero and some of the add-on partners. So, I guess first of all, how important do you think it is to drive traffic to the website, in terms of the effort that you put into your marketing?
So based on my personal experience with cloud-sourced accounting, doing SEO work and content marketing, and we tried doing paid advertising as well, paid online advertising. I can tell you that it is really, really difficult these days to rank on Google for anything. So you really have to decide what your online marketing strategy is going to be, if it is going to include trying to rank on Google, or if you're not even going to bother. Because there's no reason to do it part way, because ranking on Google is basically only effective if you're in the top 10 results. If you're on any of the pages after the top 10 results, you've wasted your money. So you need to know whether or not it's possible to get in those top 10 results, and then dedicate your resources to achieving that.
And that's actually,
Otherwise, yeah,
sorry,
go
but
ahead, sorry.
say that that's actually becoming an even worse situation. That top 10 results used to fit on the first page. Now Google have changed the way they do paid listings, so they come at the top and take up often half the page on popular terms. Then you often have the map listings, and then you might only fit two or three listings on a page on desktop. Can be even worse on mobile. So often one of those first listings will be maybe a zero directory listing. It might also, or a zero directory listing for accountants in your area. It could be a Yale listing. So there might only be space for one firm on that front page.
Right. Yeah, and so that's the problem, right? So unless you're that firm, you've basically lost. You spent all this money on content marketing, and it didn't work. So that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, and I'll talk about the instances in which you can win that battle for the front page of results, and there are examples of accountants who are doing it really well, and I think it's really helping them. But I think what we really need to remember in all of this is that the ways that we get the best clients, the way that accountants get clients, has traditionally always been referrals and networking. And online in marketing and the prevalence of smartphones and the fact that more people are getting online doesn't change that fact. The best way to get clients is still referrals and networking. What has changed is that there's a new step that happens when somebody makes a referral or you meet somebody. And this is most common with younger folks. What happens is that they find out about you from a friend or a colleague, a business associate, or you meet them at an event, and they go home, and instead of just calling you and calling the number on your card or calling the number they were given, they go on Google and they search your name and they search your firm and they see what comes up. That is why we need to be doing online marketing, right? Because if you don't have a presence, then that's a strike against you. Doesn't mean they won't call you and sign up for your services, but it's a strike. And if bad stuff comes up, then they're definitely not going to call you. So the reason I say all that is because I'm trying to explain that SEO, you don't have to do it to have a successful firm, right? You can just rely on referrals and networking like we always have, and those are the best clients typically. But you need to have the online presence because you need to improve your sales process, right? They're already interested, and you just need to make sure you don't lose them. So most of the stuff that Matt and I are talking about is all about that, which is nurturing a lead. You already have the lead, and now you just want to make sure you don't lose them. Okay, so I think that's the most important thing to remember. Now, before we get into all the nurturing stuff, let's talk about the SEO stuff. So there are ways to rank on Google, and one of the ways is by being a specialist. So I'm going to search for the term e-commerce accounting and see what comes up. And that's interesting. It's the second result. It used to be the first one. Second result here is Catching Cloud's e-commerce accountants. This is Scott and Patty Sharp.
Just jump in there, Blake. Is that one of the? I know you're going to show some of the advantages of SEO here, but one of the disadvantages is the vagaries of Google's algorithm. So you can be ranking number one, and then they decide
Right.
to change something, and you drop down. And that happened to us recently, where we used to come number one for like websites for accountants, and most of our terms we didn't really optimize the site, but we would do pretty well. And um, we because of a tool that we installed on our site, we started getting a high bounce rate on a certain page, and that page was quite highly trafficked. So the bounce rate, for people who don't know, is basically people who visit the site and leave really quickly. And that bounce rate was natural because this was a tool for booking demos, but it was showing up in our results. So because of that, Google have
Mm,
penalized the whole site, and we've dropped down. So we're still probably on the front page, but we've dropped down for something that's completely innocent. And we can deal with that, and we'll probably crawl back up. But my point being is that if you put all your eggs in the basket of SEO, Google can change something and wipe out all of that effort overnight. Whereas the
it's
lead
true.
nurturing and quality sales process stuff that we're going to talk about, that will that won't change. If you do that, you'll keep reaping the benefits.
Exactly. So I would consider this a secondary strategy. And you can see actually that Catching Clouds is now second, and the reason is that Google has ranked number one, the Ultimate Guide to E-commerce Accounting, which I believe is a vendor piece of content. So that's the other issue that we have as accountants and bookkeepers, is that we are up against on Google not just each other, but also vendors, software developers who have often millions of dollars in venture capital funding to pump into content marketing. So very challenging. And that's also what drives up the cost of pay-per-click advertising as well, is the fact that we're up against not just each other, but also Intuit and Xero and banks and financial advisors with a lot more resources. So let's go back to Catching Clouds, though, because they're a great example. So this is probably the number one way that you can rank without spending a ton of money, is to specialize on your website in a particular niche. So Catching Clouds, they have branded themselves as the e-commerce accountants. That's all that they do, and so they're going to rank on Google for it. You can do, let's see, I think there's a dental CPA. That's a good example. Here he is, dentalcpas.com. And, that's going to come up, right? It's interesting actually. This isn't a very good page. They've got broken images here, and it doesn't even appear to be their main homepage. So anyone listening who wants to work with dentists, there's an opportunity here to steal their ranking, because you could create a better page.
I actually met a dental CPA at XeroCon Denver, so I'm not going to say who it is, but I would have hoped he ranked on there as well. So yeah.
Accountant for dentists. Yeah, they're still coming up number two. That's actually that's interesting. There's a brewery CPA, the beer CPA,
Aaron Root.
right? That's a specialty, right? She ranks number one. Why? Because nobody else is doing it. Well, craft brewery CPA.
Just to
So
flip
you
that
can see some
around,
other people are catching on.
do you think craft brewers are searching for craft brewing accountants? Do you think
I doubt it.
they exist, or would it be
I doubt it. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is you got to think, what are people actually searching for? And there are tools to help you research what people are searching for. Matt, I used HubSpot because that was our marketing tool. But is there one that's free that people can use to find out search rankings?
Google AdWords keyword tool? So if you just type in keywords tool, I think keyword planner it's
Keyword
called.
planner.
Now
So I think I need.
you'd have to
Yeah.
create an AdWords account to do this.
Yeah.
Which is free. They'll try and make you buy advertising, but you don't have to. And it will show you, if you put in a term, it will show you how many people. You can narrow it down to your area, so it could be San Francisco, and then you can see how many people have searched for, Xero accountants San Francisco in May, and then you can see the competitiveness on that term. So when they say competitiveness, they mean who else is like paying to try and list under that term, and that can give you an indication of whether it's worth trying to compete, because the highly competitive ones you're probably not going to do well on. So, accountant San Francisco is going to be super hard to get to the top, especially if you're starting up. I'd say it's a massive
Yeah.
waste of time to even bother. But if you did, you know, um, like you say, a specialization, whether that was a certain industry like beer or dentists, or it was a particular service you offered, you're going to stand a much better chance, or maybe a suburb or region of a city or area where you would stand more chance.
And it's really important to use this tool before you start remarketing or redesigning all your stuff, because it may be that the niche that you've chosen doesn't have many searches, and often Google will simply say too low to count. So that means that there's, maybe just a dozen searches, for that, or less, or fewer than 10 a month, I believe, is where they don't even bother to count it. And so if that's the case, then it really doesn't matter if you're specializing all that much in terms of SEO, because even if you're ranking, if nobody's searching for, say, brewery CPA, it doesn't matter, right? So it may even be, I don't know, I haven't done the research on this, but it may even be that brewery CPA or beer CPA isn't even a term that people are searching for. That doesn't mean that this isn't a good idea, because if she does get a referral, they're going to come here and they're going to see that she's an expert in the industry, which is the number one thing that people look for in an accountant.
So I think on that point, and conscious of time as well, because we could talk about traffic and all bunches of way to bring people to your site. To me, the most important thing is actually, probably for most firms, not how much traffic they're getting, but how much they convert to leads and then into clients. So if we could skip onto that next slide and say,
Yes,
to me, the main purpose
let's
of
do that.
optimizing a page is actually, to show that specialization, to create the desire for somebody to get in touch. So, what are some of the best ways you think to convert traffic into ultimately into clients? I guess first into leads, then into clients.
Right. So the best way to convert more leads into clients is to get their email address. And I would say that's the number one thing that you can do. And then stay in touch with them via some sort of newsletter that you send out. With their permission, obviously. They've opted in on your website. You start sending them this newsletter. The reason that's important is that people are not typically ready to buy immediately, especially for accounting and bookkeeping services. They might research you in November. They may not be ready to sign up with you until it's tax season in January or February. You need to stay in touch with them from November, December, January to February. And the way you stay at the top of their mind is by sending them a periodic email, whether that's monthly or quarterly or something like that. I like monthly. If you've got good stuff, you could even do a weekly newsletter, but it's got to be good stuff. So that is the number one place that I would focus your energy, is figuring out how to get people to give you their email address and then sending them good, relevant content for their industry on a weekly or monthly basis.
So I'm
So
going to make myself the
yeah, go
presenter
ahead.
there, because I can show an example of this on screen. So this is just a demo site that we use, and you can see here we call this like a lead magnet on the right hand side. So you would put this is very relevant to a Xero one, learn Xero in 7 days. So this would fit really well onto a Xero landing page that was linked to from the Xero directory. And this is a free email course on Xero, which we've had written by Heather Smith, who's the author of Xero for Dummies. So what would happen is if we go and puts in a fake email address, that's what you're trying to do is grab that email. Someone visits, like Blake said. I mean, probably high 90% of people who visit your site are just in evaluation mode. There's only going to be a small percentage who are going to give you a call and say, look, I'm ready to engage you right now. For the rest of them, that they are interested, but only about 20% of them will ever return to your site. So you're going to lose that 80% unless you grab something from them. And like Blake said, that the email address is the natural thing to do. So offer something really valuable, like a Xero course. You've grabbed that email address now. Obviously, the email address itself isn't of any value unless you do something. So you can send them a newsletter, which I think if you're a motivated content producer like Blake is fine. If you find it hard to create content, I would suggest you try and automate that process. So this is our email marketing software, and you can see that Xero course is sitting in there over a week. And that's basically, branded emails. The course is delivered in email, and there's contact details on the bottom. So you don't really need to do any selling in this because people know you're an accountant. They know you want their business. You're just trying to stay top of mind. Because most other firms won't be doing this, won't be nurturing leads. You're just becoming more and more useful to this person so that when they do, like Blake said, come around to tax time, they get a hefty bill from their current firm. Right, I'm going to switch. Oh, I remember senior and junior accountants. They're the guys who send me useful emails every month. Who do you think they're going to choose? And so, yeah, what we would suggest is that give away something really valuable at the start and do that quite intensively, like the course. And then some leads will come across at that point. After that, yeah, I would go with what Blake said. Once a month, send an email. And you can automate that. You can use email software to set that up, like, let's say, 12 months worth of emails. So then you know that every lead who comes through your site, you're going to be in touch with them for a year. And the sales cycle is very long for accounting firms. So, you might even want to think about 2 years worth of emails, and they could just be some Xero tips and tricks or something like that. But that's really the only way that you can see results.
Matt, and I want to emphasize what you said, which is something that many accountants may not be familiar with. You don't have to do this all every time somebody signs up for your email newsletter or they become a contact of yours. What Matt's software does and what is possible with mailing list software like MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever you're using is you create the emails one time. You create a sequence of emails. And then when you add somebody or they add themselves to that sequence, the software automatically delivers them the emails in order on a schedule that you specify. So Matt here has a 7-day course. You could also have a weekly course. You could have a monthly type of a lead nurturing cycle so that you never have to lift a finger, and yet you're still in touch with these folks. So this is the reason this is powerful is that it takes very little time once you've set it up. It takes no time at all, and it's very cheap, relatively speaking, as opposed to paying for advertising or trying to rank on Google.
And I think the other thing with email addresses is that the return on investment on email vastly outweighs search. So it's nearly twice the return on investment of search. And it's about 3 or 4 times that of social. So it's not to say those things aren't worthwhile. It's just that ultimately you need to get email addresses and start marketing to people because it's not cool and sexy anymore, but it's the thing that keeps on delivering results time after time. And someone that I learned a lot of that from was
something we should add. Something we should add, Matt, is that the beauty of email is that you can actually see who is opening up your emails.
Yeah.
So if you have more than just an email address or you have a phone number and you see that, John Smith is opening up every one of your emails every month, you can prioritize who to actually reach out to directly if you're in need of more business.
Mm.
Whereas you can see if it certainly just trashes all your emails and never looks at them. And you don't get that feedback with social media or Google search.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm conscious that we've only got a few more minutes left, and we can still take some questions. But one thing that I did want to touch on was maybe some methods of capturing email addresses on the website. So beyond things that are just like the form that I showed here. And I know that a tool that you've been using is SumoMe. Did you want to maybe show a couple of things around that? Because that's fantastic at grabbing email addresses from websites.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Let me get that up, and you can flip back the presenter to me.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. Let's see. So you can see the PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try and go back to my browser. Okay, I'll just show you guys based on my personal website, because I'm using SumoMe on my own website. And what it is it's like a layer on top of the website that gives you additional really cool features in terms of like adding contact forms and whatnot, or adding sign-up forms. So I'm going to go to, let's say I need a new incognito window. If I open up my own website, incognito person, and I say go to my what's new in cloud accounting story, over here on the left, you can see these are my share buttons. This is great. If you have content out there that is of value that you think you can get people to share, you should have share buttons that are very prominent. And this is a SumoMe tool. Somebody can just go ahead and click on this, and it will open up LinkedIn for them. It's not going to log me in because I'm in incognito mode, but it'll log them in and prep the post for them. Here with Twitter, you can see I click the Twitter link, and here is a post, so I can just log in and tweet. It also is great for showing credibility. Like if you have tons of shares on a piece of valuable content, then that's going to, it's like social proof, right? It shows that you are an expert. If I scroll down the page, I'm reading. Oh, look at that, a little pop-up window in the bottom right. Subscribe to Cloud Accounting Weekly. This is another SumoMe tool. The pop-up is designed to come up at 40% of the read rate. So once they've read past 40%, pop-up comes up, and they can simply enter their email address and subscribe.
Do you know what your conversion rate on that is, Blake? Because we use these tools on our site, and we added one for the month of marketing to try and get signups from the site. And we've got about 4% sign-up rate of people who visit the site, which doesn't sound a lot, but that's actually pretty high.
Yeah, I can actually show you using the SumoMe tool. I can pull up the apps. These are the various different apps. There's the share button. Here's the scroll box. And I can open this guy, and I can actually show you how many. Oh, that's a little private information. I probably shouldn't show that, people's email addresses. But you can see the conversion rate. My apologies to anyone whose email just got displayed. So yeah, you can see the scroll box. The number of people that have seen it and the number of people who have percentage of people who have clicked it. And they have other tools. Sorry, go ahead.
They're free, aren't they? There's no cost. I mean, there's a paid version, but you can get started with them for free.
Yeah. So this actually, I don't pay for this yet. I've just been playing around with this for the past month or so. So all of this is totally using the free versions. You can pay to get more customization options, like for instance, on the scroll box, you can change the font and the color to match your firm's color scheme. Or on the share buttons, you get more options. Here's the share buttons. You can see, oh, I've had 40 total clicks and I've had 102 all-time clicks, right? I just recently, I think, started using this. And I can change my settings here to choose which services I want people to share using. I can change the layout to change where I want it to display, that sort of thing. I can say rules, so I only want it to show on certain pages on my website. So I've turned it off for certain pages, those sort of things. Trying to think what else. The welcome mat, that's really cool. So the welcome mat, this is actually, if you want to create a landing page really quickly, this is the easiest way to do it. The welcome mat is basically it covers up a page when somebody shows up, and it forces them to look at what you're trying to show them. So this is a preview of the landing page or the welcome mat. So if somebody went to a particular page on my website, I could say display the welcome mat. This is what shows first, and then they have to scroll down to view the article. So this is the most effective way to get email addresses. I mean, the conversion rates on this are crazy. It's like you can get like 20, 30% conversion rates. You just have to decide if you want to annoy people, right?
But
But you'd be surprised.
People
You'd be surprised.
Sorry, you go.
I was going to say, yeah, sorry to cut you off. You'd be surprised. Most people don't get annoyed by this. It's really just sort of, and you can pick and choose where to use it. Like you could use it on a piece of, a single piece of content and not use it on your entire website, that sort of thing. And you can also choose to show it to people only one time in a year, for instance. So if somebody goes to my website and looks at that page and doesn't put their email in, they're not going to see it again for a whole year. So I'm not really annoying them that much.
I think if you ask,
I don't have it on right now.
If you ask people did it annoy them, they would say yes. In reality, it doesn't, and the conversion rates bear these things out. So I'd recommend everyone checks that out. Sumome.com. We'll send out some information in the follow-up email. But it's really worth checking out if you want to start building an email list and capturing details from a website. I'm conscious.
Yeah, and this is started by one of the founders of, or one of the early employees of Facebook, I believe.
Yeah, early employees, and got sacked. But he's a very funny guy, Noah Kagan, but super switched on. And his own blog, which I'll include, is I'll just put the link in here. OK Dork is really worth reading as well. He kind of comes across as very goofy, but very switched on marketer. I'm conscious that here's the site here. So I'm conscious that we've been going for an hour and we probably haven't covered all the topics that we'd like to. So we might follow up with a bit more information in the email. But what I'm going to do is if anyone has a question for Blake or myself, please fire that into the question window. Just a couple of things before we do that. So if you're interested in working with Blake in terms of improving your own firm's marketing, what's the best way, Blake? I've got your websites up there. How's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, if you're interested in working with me, I am now independent, so I'm on my own. I'm studying for the CPA exams this summer, and that's taking up about half my time, and the rest of it is currently available. So if you're interested in working with me on marketing projects, head over to my website, blakeoliver.com. You can check that out. You can contact me there. My email is blake@blakeoliver.com. And you can also subscribe to my email newsletter, cloudaccountingweekly.com. I send that out weekly, and it's basically a roundup of the best accounting technology stories that I've read. And I hope that is of value to you. It's vendor agnostic, so I cover Xero, QuickBooks, all the add-ons equally. And I should mention that if you want to work with me on marketing, the plans that I am coming up with start at $500 for very simple assessment type work, and then we can go up from there. Buy me for a month if you like. So.
Good stuff. Appreciate it, Blake. Well, so if anyone's got any questions, we'll hang around for a few more minutes. Just fire those into the question window. Something else you might want to know about is so part of month of marketing. If you come to a BizInc demo during June, you can win a website and 1 year of free hosting. So everyone who comes along will go into a draw. Just go to bizinconline.com and book a demo. And pricing power, Steve Major, who's the other partner in month of marketing, he's offering a free year of coaching. Go to transformationaladvisor.com/apply if you'd like to get a free strategy session and also go into the draw to win that. So I can't see any questions coming up yet. We'll stick around for a few more minutes. The next month of marketing event is actually tomorrow, which is selling the firm of the future. And that's with Trent McLaren of Intuit Australia. So what we're going to be talking about is a topic, it's going to be talking about selling, salesmanship. And that's something that I think a lot of accountants don't like doing, is selling. But Trent's got some really good tips there on how to kind of become a better salesperson and promote modern accounting services. So look, we haven't got any questions coming in. If you do have any questions, feel free to email them through to myself at bizinconline.com/contact. You saw Blake's details there before, so I'm sure he'd be interested to get any questions from you there. Just remains for me to thank you all for coming along, and thank you, Blake, for sharing your insights with us. That's been fascinating.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Great stuff. Okay, we'll wrap it up there.